नमस्कार, जय हिंद, जय भारत एंड वेलकम टू डेफ टॉक्स। दिस इज आदि चिंद। इस दुनिया के अंदर इस टाइम पे अगर आप रिमलैंड को देखेंगे, पूरे रिमलैंड में आग लगी हुई है। स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम यूक्रेन राइट टिल नॉर्थ कोरिया, देयर आर टेंशंस एंड देयर इज वॉर। इजराइल ईरान इज द लेटेस्ट वन, इसके अंदर पाकिस्तान एंड भारत ऑफ कोर्स इज इन्वॉल्व्ड। तो बात करते हैं लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल डीपी पांडे से, जिनसे हम सीखेंगे कि भाई ये हो क्या रहा है और आगे क्या इनको सर को दिखता है। थैंक यू सर, नमस्कार, वेलकम टू द शो।
जय हिंद, जय भारत।
Sir, let's begin with ये Israel Iran. Quite a predictable sort of a moment, especially looking at कि भाई एक क्रक्स पॉइंट पे जा रहा था ये, तो कुछ ना कुछ होना था. So how do you see this entire thing और ये कहाँ जाएगा अभी? US ने भी कर दिया सब कुछ जो होना था, fair enough. Now they've done it, successful or not. Where does it go आगे?
Okay, so there are 3 points. दो तीन चीजें हैं आदि. One is the distance involved, right? Iran is not bordered by, it may have military bases of America, right? But it doesn't have what do you call proximity of land. And decisive battles are only fought when you have boots on ground. So look at Russia and Ukraine. They have been fighting. They have been slugfest is on. The Hamas has not given in to Israel in spite of the entire damages and everything has been done. Long distance love affair will have that much of a stamina to be exercised, right? So the only thing which can possible is by intrigue. What does America want? What does the world want? Technically, the Western world, right? Unfortunately, Iran could have changed its orientation in last about 20-30 years. You know, once you have survived, then Islamic regime has come about. They are well settled into the political processes, but somewhere they could not change the line that we are anti-Israel, death to America, death to this, right? It is not a populist movement, but it's an ideological one at the top level. And therefore, we require the nuclear bomb. If they had not gone for all this, the situation today would have not emerged. And eventually, you know, Iranians have got 7,000 years of civilization. They are smart people. But what happens is that when ideology takes over, then it becomes very difficult to come out of it. And you are not able to get off the high horse, right? So that is one part. Just leave it at that. The second is then how can they change this orientation? They could have changed through talks. Every talk which the Americans have tried sincerely and number of times not so sincerely, right? Some talks were semantic, some talks were to push them to a corner, and some talks were very, very sincere talks. But unfortunately, the alignment between Israel and US never matched because of other constraints in the region. I'll not get into all those details. So where does it go here and after? It goes that slowly the logistic stamina, I'll say not logistic, I'll say the military stamina, not in numbers of boots on ground, will start diminishing. And if the Americans and the Western allies are able to control the movement in and out to Iran in some manner or other, the number of missiles which are going to be utilized to strike at Israel will start reducing the numbers, right? And therefore, a certain degree of punishment will be brought on to the top leadership through the people of this thing may happen. So actually, if you look at the short-term military mission which Israel may have started off by destroying the nuclear capability of Iran, may not have been met fully, but surely it has been pushed for some time. It opens the time gap for, again, political rapprochement, diplomacy, discussion which may take place. But Iran will also require an off-ramp. After all, the most powerful Shia leader, the religious leader, and the political establishment, IRGC, they require to tell their own people that, well, we came on the top, right? And for coming on the top, there are enough visual delight, if I say, for them in their orientation. In terms of Israelis being hit in their own stronghold, their Aadi has been breached, the Iron Dome has been breached. So, you know, when they have to go back home to talk, right, they can always say that we have broken the might of Israelis, which is supported by the West in terms of money and everything. And by the way, everything came from our indigenous capabilities, capacities. So my religion, my ideology is better than Israelis and the West, is an off ramp which they have to come out of the conflict. So right now, I think both have got an opportunity to off ramp and get away with certain degree of sanity and certain degree of this thing. So a lot of people are thinking that it will go back, but actually, when except for Netanyahu, he may like it to finish because after all, he's opened this game with the Iranians. He may like to open it and close it only with the destruction of or change of regime because I don't think so. When you're 86-year-old, all your life you have thought of only one way. It is me, my religion is the strongest. I don't think they are going to think about living in peace with Israel. And so is the case. There's a very, very ultra right wing also in Israel, right? Last 30, 40 years, they've been fighting this whole scourge of proxy warfare from the Shia-led, actually it's Shia-led, but the Shias have also supported Sunni establishment, anybody who could hurt Israel, right? So that also resides in their memory, and therefore they will like to also finish off this business. So these two tactical considerations, if America or others are able to harmonize and finish it, I think the war will, or the conflict, the short fuse conflict may start getting down. Hoga is all debatable how far they want to go. But I think the Iranians are smart and the Americans are smart. Americans don't want to get into this war, right? Surely they are not going to put boots on the ground. Even if some major incident happens, Trump doesn't have the capacity. America today doesn't have the capacity to put boots on the ground.
Yes, sir, because
if they put, अगर अमेरिका जंग के अंदर घुसता है ठीक से, तो सारी दुनिया खुश हो जाएगी. दुनिया में कौन खुश होगा? European Union will be happy, right? America has got committed. The Russians will be very happy, right? The focus from Ukraine goes away, and the Chinese will be very happy because suddenly you will find the American economy also start going to occupy, right? So world will be happier if America goes into war, but not for good reasons, only for bad reasons, right? And Americans know they don't have an appetite today to go for a war or a conflict. Majority of their ammunition, majority of their equipment has already been committed, right, in one way or other. So they have to really scale up, right? They've sent most of the things to Ukraine. Very little is left for them also to start with.
The point आपने जो raise करा है, which is very important, is that capacity to fight कितना होगा. So it will come to a point where both will now say कि अच्छा यार, enough damage has been done. We can't sustain anymore. Yes, we want to damage the other, but हमको भी damage हो रहा है. So जरा let's back off. So that off ramp. And उसके बारे में some conversations I can see happening that some sort of an off ramp might be given to the Iranians. But Iran would need to save its face. Iran would need to hit, right? Iran would need to show something कि भाई हमने भी कुछ करा है Americans को, so that this thing. So you see some sort of a, पहले भी they've done these strikes.
Iran should be smart enough not to try the tactic, right? They may do a semantic kind of a thing if they want. Frankly, Iran is not a war-fighting nation. Iran is also proxy war, right? And it is not only Iran. Everybody is fighting a proxy war. Americans are fighting, the Chinese are fighting. Everybody has got. Iranians are also very smart. They have got a huge army and force and everything. It is basically for their own people to control. They are not fighting the Saudis. They are not going to fight. Which are the bordering countries with them? They are unlikely to go to war with Pakistan. They are unlikely to go to war with Saudis. They are unlikely to go to war with Azerbaijan, Armenia. They are the boundaries which they share. They have got only one enemy, and that's physical enemy, and that is Israel. So if you can fight with them through proxy, this thing, all right, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Syrians have got severely damaged. But radical movements don't take much time. They will come back because all the damages Israel has done in Hamas or in Gaza will only produce more number of suicide bombers and the fighters, right? So when you have got an easy tool, somebody else who's going to die, the Palestinians are going to die for the cause of Iran. And by the way, they are all, majority of them are Sunnis. Huh? So if they are going to die for their cause, so be it. हमें क्या फर्क पड़ता है? So why should they get off ramping when you say for Israel? They have got enough. They have hit enough number of targets, right, in Israel to celebrate it as a success, right? And they can also say that the nuclear strikes by the America has not been actually successful because they were able to take out majority of the stuff, and they can also showcase over a period of time that you look, although they hit, but वो 300 फीट पे तो जाके पता नहीं 200 फीट हो गया, ठीक है? So ये सब चीजें हैं उनके पास में, एक स्टोरी है, narrative peddling होती है, that they will be able to succeed, right? You see America, the Donald Trump came out and said comprehensive destruction has taken place. Me and you know exactly, यार, I agree, bunker buster है, बहुत अच्छा है, but वो 200 फीट पे जब जाके पड़ता है, it may create an earthquake. But the thing which is at 300 feet down, they may be a damage to a particular portion of they have hit what I think somebody says 2, somebody says 4. These exact numbers will not come out. How many have gone and hit Fordo only, because they have, I think, used about 12 watt GPU 57s. So ये they can always claim एक selective picture निकाली Fordo की, वो सब ठीक ठाक है. They have already claimed yesterday that all the people who were hit, they were taken to the anti-radiation or to the medical center, and they don't show any signs of radiation leaks, contamination. So what are these? These are all narrative selling. Right or wrong, वो तो यार किसी को सच पता नहीं है. Americans को भी सच नहीं पता है, Iranians को भी नहीं पता है, right? Nobody is going to know the truth, but everybody will sell their own truth to their own people. World Iranians don't bother. World Americans don't bother. The only guy who's sandwiched is Benjamin Netanyahu, right? He's in trouble. The day the war starts, his own people are going to take him apart. He knows it. So he has to achieve a very, very comprehensive victory over Hamas, over Iran.
That is there, sir. One, it's quite a tough time. So, ये जो बीच में अभी पाकिस्तान jump in करा है, I mean specifics so we don't know, but कुछ ना कुछ पता चल रहा है, some base, this, that, some flying was happening in that region. हो भी रहा होगा, this is not much of a surprise. What do you think is the ये जो longevity है, ये US Pakistan का newfound rapprochement? Firstly, is it a rapprochement कि ये बस वो एक कुछ करना था तो उसके लिए?
The Americans and the Chinese or any major nation which wants to get things done, they are very comfortable with one person who leads, a dictator, right? Democracies are very, very uncomfortable for them. So either there is a monarch, or there is a dictator, or there is a military leader through whom they can deal with. So if you look at in the history of Pakistan and just carry out check how many people the presidents have met personally or entertained, you will find none of the prime ministers have been entertained by the Americans. Imran Khan for 4 years never was spoken to, right? So, but Ayub Khan, Musharraf, Ziaul Haq, and now Asim Munir, they all had time. But इससे पहले बाजवा था. Bajwa was not a hardline or a this thing. So बाजवा से किसी ने बात ही नहीं करी. So if they are very, very, it is not about Pakistan and US. It is about US. US is very, very comfortable to do their business dealing with one person. Right? You can't, even in our context, you can't go to a corporate room and try and convince everybody. If you can buy off the corporate top number one leader or the owner of the business, यार ये पैसा ले, ये काम कर, ठीक है? So we actually get, we Indians waste too much of our time on Pakistan and this relationship. It is a transactional relationship. It is the relationship of proxy. It is the relationship of a dog and a master, right? So वो डॉग को पेट करता है, कटवाने के लिए, खरीदने के लिए, खाने के लिए. I gave this reference as a toilet paper, and this is a toilet paper which can be washed and reused. Right? There are आजकल होते हैं टॉयलेट पेपर को फेंक दिया. ये वाला टॉयलेट पेपर वो है पाकिस्तान, जिसको आप यूज करके साफ सूफ करके थोड़ा सा साबुन से, thereafter you put it hang to dry, whereafter it lies there, and again when you shit, again you use this toilet paper. Right? I don't know how right I'm in this country, but that is how Pakistanis believe. And you know, एक हमारा सबकॉन्टिनेंट प्रॉब्लम, पाकिस्तान का भी प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. ट्रम्प का मुझको फोन आ जाएगा, मैं चारों तरफ कूदते बताऊंगा ट्रम्प का आया, ट्रम्प का आया. किसी गोरे का फोन आ जाएगा, हम सब कूदते हैं. हमारा जो ब्राउन कम्युनिटी है ना, हम, एंड दिस इज मच मोर सेंट्रल टू पाकिस्तान. एंड इन पाकिस्तान इट इज नॉट अबाउट बलोच और ट्राइबल एरिया. आप पंजाबी कल्चर है, ठीक है. They have to show off all this thing. They become very, very boastful about it. And this Americans understand. They will get a lady, woman who will talk to them. And then you see the way the Pakistani generals and their politicians will walk. They will get top leadership to just give a telephone call. ये इनके पंख होने लगते हैं, ठीक है. So they use, and this is very, very transactional. When Munir was called, that time, you know, in News 18, 2 days before I had predicted that within 48 hours something will be done. When Trump had said 2 weeks and this and that. In fact, उससे एक दिन पहले मैंने ये बता दिया था कि जो टाइम है for America to do something on Fordo and Natanz and all is running short if they don't do anything. But finally on that one day I said within 48 hours they have to do. After 48 hours it is useless or they can't do it, right? The reason was when you get Munir, he's not being called for a free lunch. In America, आपसे वो हाथ मिलाता ना, वो पहले देख लेता वो पैसे कितने. They're great businessmen. They're like Chinese, you know. They will do good business with you. So when they've called him for 4 hours, they've looked after him, entertained him, they are going to look at business. And what was the most important business? In case required, you know, through airspace, Ana, Jana, casualties, boots on the ground, to fly, to get intelligence. And my only thing was that I thought that this will compel the Iranians to spread their AD resources all over, right? Right now, their AD resources would have been aligned towards Israel side because Israel is also flying at an extreme range. Please understand the ballistics and everything is coming at 1500, 1700, 1800 kilometers. Every missile with Israel is not of 5,000 kilometers. They also got some numbers. You know, some are 100, some are 500. Very expensive one will be 1,000, and some will be 1,000 and above. So their AD will be arrayed, their forces, their intelligence, their this thing. But the moment you start talking to Pakistan, right, their Iranians' focus will start shifting and drifting because Iranians also know you can't trust Pakistan, right? Why you can't trust Pakistan? Pakistan military establishment has allowed Shia getting bombed on their watch, right? Quite deliberately. Most of the people who are bombing are controlled by them. It is not, right? Attacks, deaths. What is happening? You look at Gilgit-Baltistan, the killings, brutality, isolation of Shia community. Because Munir, who's a Maulvi himself, Mullah himself, he is very clear. He's a Sunni. He believes in the radical and ultimate level of Islam. वो कहते हैं यार सब कुछ है पर सुन्नी ही सही है. Ahmadiyas are outcast. Everybody else is an outcast. So you follow my path. So, you know, Iranians have to look at with that perspective as well. Then what is happening on the border with Baloch, there are so many factors. So I think they wanted to also divide the resources of attention and equipment monitoring as well. And I'm sure Pakistan must have given a lot of intel and stuff because he was there for 4 days. In 4 days, काफी कुछ होता है. ठीक है.
How should we look at this, sir? इसको अभी जो regional सिक्योरिटी बैलेंस है, आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट डिप्लोमेसी एंड ऑल दैट, द सिक्योरिटी बैलेंस जो है, क्योंकि पाकिस्तान का एक जो आपके ऊपर फोकस थ्रेट है, ईरान से, सॉरी, नेपाल से ही इज वांटिंग टू डू समथिंग विद यू, बांग्लादेश से इज वांटिंग टू डू समथिंग विद यू, और अपनी तरफ से भी वो करने की कोशिश कर रहा है.
Essential thing, the neighbor which you created for whatever folly of ours and of course requirement of the Britishers in an artificial country, survival is anti-India, right? So let's accept that. वो but उसकी हर एक की हद होती है. You know, he can come via Nepal, he can do something via Bangladesh, but can he do something very, very drastic? It can't. Can you curtail any more terrorist strike? You can't curtail. There will continue to be some amount of terrorist strikes will happen, a proxy war kind of a thing happen. But militarily, I don't think so. Something major he can do till the time we let our guard down, right? The second is this relationship with America. What can America do? What will America do? Besides providing them some equipment, some weapons, some military aid, money is being sunk, right? We should look as a nation with the economic prosperity, leverage, numbers, military might where we are. We should not get too worried about Pakistan as a standalone. And in long term also or short term also, America is not going to support Pakistan to do something silly, or when India-Pakistan something is happening, America is surely not going to stand behind them and say we are with you, because that partnership and alliance of CENTO and CETO, which was there, earlier alliances are no more in vogue, right? There are no security guarantees for Pakistan today from America, right? And of course, let's say something happens in 1 or 2 or 5 years. What will America do? They may give certain degree of information, intelligence, equipment, but I don't think so. They will not like to do all this, because our engagement with America is strategic. It is encompassing security is one of small little factor. There are larger number of issues, right? With Pakistan is more transactional. It is more यार वो हमारा हालत वही है कि जो पड़ोसी पड़ोसी नहीं होते हैं, आप उनके घर में जाओ, बट एक छोटा सा कुत्ता साथ में रखा हुआ है उन्होंने, right? But then when he comes to our home, he will not come with a dog. You know, he'll come and dog the dog. So let's look at the bigger picture. We should not try and go down to the level of Pakistanis. We should not even start thinking. We should not even spend too much of time. It should be left to maximum of the NSA to handle Pakistan and its challenges. There are no military challenges which are coming from them. All challenges are going to be proxy challenges, right? Right.
How do you see China in this entire story, sir? Because China has been awfully quiet.
Yeah, so they're the smallest. And time again, everybody is asked कि जब वो लड़ाई होगी तो चाइना पाकिस्तान के साथ में लड़ेगा, नहीं. चाइना हमेशा उसका फायदा उठाए. चाइना चाहेगा कि पाकिस्तान से लड़ाए. चाइना विल एग ये हथियार ले, मैं तेरे को 50 और J-35 देता हूँ और 7 देता हूँ, 10 देता हूँ, you go and kill this guy. Pakistanis are not dumb, right? उसको मालूम है कि मेरा काम प्रॉक्सी से चल रहा है. And you know, proxy is in his blood. Started in 47-48, used in 65, tried a little bit in 71, did it in Kargil, and for last 30, 35, 40 years they have been doing proxy war to us, and they realize कि इतने दिनों में इतने हजार बंदे हमने इनका मार दिए, right? Why should they get into a conflict? Why should they get destroyed? Where is the financial power? Where is the economic might to fight a long war? They don't have, right? So we should not get too worried. China is the one which is the smartest in this entire Indo-Pak, Israel, Iran, and everything, because he will want, you know, in last about 1 month, has there been a talk on trade? You imagine that the trade was number one talk on first week of May. 6th when Ops Indu started, 6, 7, right? On 6th, 7th onwards, thereafter, the entire thing, nobody's talking of trade. Of Sindoor khatam ho gaya, we thought we'll start talking of trade. Again, this has happened. So the more instability in rest of the country, or rest of the region, China remains preeminently disposed, right? But what is happening is that China exposed its hand slightly earlier in Galwan and Taiwan, and now people don't trust Chinese. So if you remember now, if you see how China is blackmailing Americans, they have started selling off their bonds, right? Almost every year, the bonds which they are holding has started coming down. The more they sell the bonds of the Americans out, the value of American dollar starts diminishing, and they are holding trillions of dollars, right? So that has commenced. The talks are still ongoing. All this thing, America says 140% trade tariff, they come out with 100%. So ये जो game चल रहा है ना, Trump को fail करने के लिए, Trump has also actually overreached. So if you see in इसको आए हुए कितना टाइम हो, 4 महीने हो गए. In 4 months, Trump has failed in every parameter where he's topped off and reached. And the last one which will fail very miserably is in trade, because he should not have committed so overtly that this is what he's going to do. So politics is a part, but actually when you start engaging with countries which are themselves very strong, right? Today you can't tame Israel with all its might has not been able to tame Gaza. Russia with all its might has not been able to, you may say there is a people behind. So Israel ke piche kitne log the, but yet they have not been able to trade. How can you tame China? So China also has got a great capacity to absorb trade shocks and everything. So China is playing his game very quickly. They will be quiet. He is using this time of the world's concentration elsewhere to resolve the challenges which he's facing within himself, jobs, fractures, challenges within the PLA, the amount of sacking into corruption, all which is going. We are not only talking about it. Nobody's talking about Uyghur movement. Nobody's talking about Tibet. What is happening there? So it's a very good time for China, and then China will be very happy if they can give some degree of support to Iranians to escalate the war and get the Americans down on their hands dirty.
The factor, so China, but एक चीज तो है ना, China has taken a big beating अभी जो ईरान में हुआ है, उसकी वजह से काफी झटका लगा है उसके geopolitical position को. One is that his oil has got stopped now. Oil will get stopped now.
Well, that is what your perception. Everybody is talking about Hormuz band ho jayega, Hormuz band ho jayega.
नहीं बंद नहीं होगा, but the Americans are going to squeeze a little bit. ईरान को तो थोड़ा तो दबाएंगे.
कितना ईरान को squeeze कर दिया, squeeze ही किया जा रहा है.
जूस निकालने के लिए बाकी सब कर दिया है.
हाँ, अब उसमें पत्थर में से तेल ही निकल रहा है, सिर्फ पानी निकलने को कुछ नहीं रह गया. There is nothing, this is all great talk. So somebody in one of the channels was saying the oil is going to jump to 130, 140 barrel. पता नहीं क्या. People who are going to be hurt most with the closing of Hormuz, who is it? Iranians. ठीक है, आज उनके पास में जॉब्स नहीं है, खाने को नहीं है, और तेल आप पी नहीं सकते, आपको तेल बेच करके ही पैसा मिलेगा. There is nothing else. They got no industry to sell or to send out to whom. The only thing they are pumping like Russia is oil. And वही अगर बंद कर देगा, so the world can take that for a period of time. Iran can't take. So, you may sell the opium of religion to your own people, that we are going to fight the devil, Israel and America. But रात को पेट में भूख लगती है जब बच्चे को खाना खिलाना हो. Right? So Israel is smart. They are not please understand, they are not suicidal. Right? They know that look at North Korea. सब कुछ करने के बाद में वो बम के ऊपर बम बनाए जा रहे हैं. And yes, people are unhappy, but he's got the full grip and control. Which sanctions have worked? So I don't think so. अगर सबसे ज्यादा, if the Chinese are being very smart, They have been pumping out cheap oil from Russia, from Iran, because they knew kal ko hona hai. They got stocking capacities of a couple of months available. In fact, today they can sell the same oil to others. Right? I hope you know they got. What I'm told is they got about 70 days plus अपनी requirement के over and above उनके पास में तेल पावर. India has also stopped, right? India का जो तेल का rate है on petrol pump, they got enough capacity not to raise the oil prices. So while everybody has been telling them that you cut down and you come down to 60 or 40, right? But they have been smart, they have been saving, they have been stocking, there are enough stocks available. How long can you stop hormones? Right? So ये थोड़ा सा ना यूक्रेन रशिया होगा तो पता नहीं क्या हो जाएगा. What happened? Everybody has realigned. Yes, somebody else will sell more. American oil and Saudi oil will be sold at a little bit more higher cost and this thing. But that's it. Your cost will align. You imagine everything raises cost here in India. Your GDP will jump straight away. How is GDP calculated? Right? So, there will be pressures. But I think we have got capacity to absorb all these things, geopolitical pressure. We have absorbed Israel, this thing, we absorbed COVID. धरती नहीं फट जाती. ठीक है.
सर इसके अंदर मेरे को ये सबसे बड़ी चीज बताइए. नाउ लेट्स थोड़ा सा ग्लोबल एरिना पे जाते हैं. व्हेन यू लुक एट जो अमेरिका's फेवरेट पोजीशन इज रिमलैंड, हार्टलैंड, वो खेलते रहते हैं उसके अंदर, एंड यू कैन सी पूरा रिमलैंड इज ऑन फायर राइट नाउ. There are tensions everywhere, every spot. Iran was the only place जहाँ पर टेंशन नहीं थे, वहां पर भी इन लोगों ने भी आग लगा दी है. ये जो पूरा ये रीजन है, जिस तरह से लोग how they're playing the game, it is basically to establish their control in that area. Pura, complete hegemony, and basically block these people from doing anything without their permission. So how far do you think Americans are trying to take the world back to the 1991 position? क्योंकि अब आप देखिए, Ukraine got attacked because it doesn't have nuclear weapons. This guy got attacked because it doesn't have nuclear weapons. North Korea, nobody wants to touch because it does have nuclear weapons. So 1991 position जो अमेरिका पुश कर रहा है कि भाई complete hegemony, और एक जो pushback आएगा which will be the smaller states starting to acquire nuclear weapons, because after this incident, ईरान का जो इंसिडेंट देखे बहुत लोग बोलेंगे यार बॉस हथियार रख लो, उसके बाद सब ठीक रहेगा. बहुत लोग करेंगे सर छुप छुपाए. How do you think this rimland, especially these areas, these countries will change? Do you see Japan, Iran going back at nuclear weapons again? Do you see South Korea, Taiwan, and countries in probably Turkey, Saudi, all these guys also looking for weapons now?
Yeah. So it's again a doomsday kind of a view. Frankly, this recent exchange between Pakistan and India, right? The Kargil conflict of India and Pakistan has also said that two nuclear powers can have a face-off, right? Doklam and Galwan also indicates that two nuclear powers can have a military exchange without using nuclear bomb, right? So nuclear bombs or nuclear assets are not guarantees of your safety. That's one point. Second is, I look at Gulf slightly differently now. Right? In Rimland, I look at these areas now wanting to get away from fundamentalist Islam to a modern society. Right? While they have exported all the bad eggs to Europe, to US, to India, to other places, they are all looking to modernize. You look at Dubai, you look at UAE, you look at Qatar, you look at Kuwait. वो अपने अपने इलाके के अंदर बिल्कुल एक मॉडर्न देश बना दिया. And this, what has happening is our aberrations. There is a great silence, there's a deafening silence from them in this entire thing which is happening. One or two statement कि Hamas के साथ होना नहीं चाहिए, Gaza में नहीं होना चाहिए. But not one of them wants to take Palestinians aside. Not one of them has come out into open support that, let's say, as Islamic Ummah, let's fight the white devil or the Christian devil, right? Or the Jews. So I think they have used this card in 80s for petro-Islamic exchanges for too long, and they have realized इसका value जो है बाहर कम था और अंदर ज्यादा नुकसान हो गया. So there's a transition. Nobody will want to go to the route of Taliban in Afghanistan, right? So, where women don't have education, they don't have rights, they can't go to school, they can't go to colleges, and everybody wants to now live in a 7th century AD kind of environment, and I'm sure the Saudis will not. Mullahs may want to live, okay? The mullahs who stay in the AC environment, they will want everybody else because that is how the power comes, right? But the transition, the change is happening very drastically and very forward. In case Iran also had formed the same path, this entire situation would have not come. So I don't think that any other nation today aspires for getting a nuke because he's having a fight with his neighbor. Which is the country today which is fighting him? Right? So Turkey, why should they go for a nuclear bomb? When they are able to achieve what they want. They want to achieve something in Syria, they have achieved. They've got internal challenges in terms of factions which are happening in their respective border areas, in Kurds and all. They don't require the nukes to be used. They don't want to dominate the European countries with the use of nuclear weapon system. There is no country which is attacking Turkey today and is unlikely to plan to attack Turkey because of its very, very critical position between Asia and Europe. And they don't have that inclination, right? So you have taken an example of North Korea is a very, very strong aberration. Japan and Taiwan have got a very strong security guarantees with NATO, with the US, and therefore they don't require an initial presence of a nuclear asset on the soil, right? Eventually that, and now even Japanese are building up their military arsenal and they're changing themselves to be able to take on the Chinese and stuff like that. But trust me, the China is unlikely to use nuke. If they use nuke, they are also into a big, big trouble tomorrow. So, nuke today, having a nuke may become a handicap rather than being an advantage. So while I will love to be to scare monger, which people love to listen, but today when you list out the countries, which country will like to have nuke? Nuclear assets come with huge amount of responsibility and accountability. And seeing the internal fractions in each of the country and the challenges, they know it's better not to keep nuke. Saudi Arabia giving them nuke. उनको तो पूरी वो एक डिवीजन चाहिए पाकिस्तान से उसको लुक आफ्टर करने के लिए. Who will guard it? The Pakistani nukes are being guarded by the American systems. So, it is not so easy to procure a weapon of mass destruction and then after try and guard and ensure it doesn't go into the wrong hands and wrong stuff. Most of the monarchs, they know how to deal through money, through transactional basis, right? Their securities are under guaranteeship of the Americans or the Russians or somebody else. So why should they invest their time? It requires cost, it requires undue attention on a country, right? Which is not so good. So they should focus all that money into ensuring their own personal wealth grows and that people also enjoy the fruits of the wealth. Africa, which country for a nuclear? Yes, hegemonistic position of America? Yes, it will want. Why should it want to have a multipolar world? You can articulate, you can be very kind, you can be sweet, you can be woke, that we deal with countries on equal terms. Russia, China is a multilateral world. They don't mean anything. Nobody wants. No country today wants. It is only an Indian civilization which talks of coexistence, right? And that is our civilizational problem, right? But the British legacy, which has been taken over by the American, is of unilateralism, is of colonialism, it's of colonialism of can be variety of types, right? So they are pursue a different type of colonialism, and so is the Chinese. They capture areas and dominate, right? So let's not see them from our lens. They will not allow a very, very peaceful rise of any other country. The Chinese used the American system to rise to where they are, right? And the Americans have realized the mistake what Kissinger did. So, unintended consequences. The Pakistanis were the one who brought Kissinger and Nixon close to, I think it was Nixon, close to Truman or Nixon, close to Chinese. And the Chinese used the Americans to right where they are.
Nixon,
right? It was very, very, and it was Pakistanis who did. And look at what the challenge today Americans are facing. They got there's a country just contesting them, right? America is aging. America has got challenge on their hand. And if China is able to ride the tide for some time, keep quiet, in next 20-25 years, they will be able to take on America. Not now.
Sir, lastly, just two small words about Indian diplomacy. Abhi, beach mein, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, India is quiet in this."
Yeah, I will also love to say, मुझे बड़ा अच्छा लगता है बोलने की गवर्नमेंट फेल हो गई आज का. Because I'm also retired, na, today the army chaps who are commanding everything are useless. So it is very good to retire and comment on everybody else who's still serving. But जब मैं था, तो सब अच्छा था. I look at Iran under shelling, under fire, opens its skies to allow people who are unlikely to be grateful to the Indian diplomacy to fly in on. जब हमारे बंदे उधर गए थे पढ़ने के लिए, काम करने के लिए, तो हमसे पूछ के नहीं गए थे, ठीक है? But skies opened up, they were brought in. Just because Munir goes and has lunch and sells the soul of the country doesn't mean that Indian diplomacy has to do the same. Look at the smart maneuver, right? I'm not a Modi bhakt or something, no. But we need to appreciate that when a telephone, you imagine any other political leader in our country would have rushed for that meal this day without realizing that वहां जाने के बाद भी वो मेन्यू कार्ड के साथ में लिखा होता कि it be a joint meal between Munir and the Prime Minister or Foreign Minister or the leadership of India. And that call, a lot of people, were talking कि उसको English नहीं बोलनी आती और वो English में बोलता है. What crap? You go to any other country. I spent 1 year in US. Everybody speaks in his own slang. हमारे यहाँ पे बंगाली जब इंग्लिश बोलता है या बंगाली बोलता है, we are very, very racist people. Classist racist. कि वो मल्लू को इंग्लिश नहीं बोलने आती, वो पंजाबी को कैसे बोलता है, वो बिहारी कैसे बोलता है. We talk all shit about ourselves. People outside don't. When a Mexican will speak his English in his manner, people will stop and listen to him. And they will not snigger about his conversation. So if our Prime Minister goes out and speaks in Hindi or halting English, making an effort, so what? Where has our diplomacy failed? Tell me. Which place? Sorry, there's a call. Huh?
No problem.
I actually don't think that our diplomacy is failed. We have achieved all our parameters which we require to achieve. If you're looking at what was written in Washington Post, what was written in New York Times, they're all very paid people here. They're not writing for this thing. And how much coverage does the world get? How much coverage do we give in our media to things which are happening unnecessarily outside?
Yeah.
How many people have covered of the bombing in which Christians have been killed in a church in Syria? Yeah. One small little byline. हमारे यहाँ पे सुसाइड होता है उसके बारे में ज्यादा बोला जाता है. हमारे यहाँ पे ऑपोजिशन पार्टी ने क्या बोला, मोदी ने इसके खिलाफ क्या बोला, अमित शाह ने इसके बारे में. Every country is interested in what's happening in its own borders, not outside. We unnecessarily get too caught up because it is available for you to carry as a news and make adverse remarks. I think our diplomats are pretty fine. They may not be so aggressive as much as they should be, but thank God they're not working for a establishment like I keep on saying, तुम चाइना चले जाओ यार रहने के लिए. तुमको अगर चाइना बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है, there's somebody who's put a photograph that Iran under shelling from Israel has got very beautiful roads. इतना साफ रखा हुआ है, ठीक है. There somebody has put that out. So I only say stay in Iran. Why all these jokers, everybody who had gone as Indian citizens wanted to come back? Such a heart-touching moment. You see a video of a lady coming out, Mera Bharat Maan, and puja karte hue, और वो she's wearing a burqa and waving a tricolor, and she touches the earth after coming. Very, very symbolic. Happened only because of Indian diplomacy. And we are not looking at more than 100 countries, yeah, who are in the rest of the Asia. We are not looking at what is happening in Africa.
Yeah.
We are really interested in what America wants to say about us. We are not looking at the trade deals which are happening with UK, with France, with so many other countries. We are not looking. Then in spite of all the conflict, yeah. I'm sorry. तो कॉल आते रहेंगे भाई. ठीक है, बहुत लंबा हो गया.
No problem, sir. Just that's what last, as I said, last this thing. So we've done well. There's no question. अच्छा करा है हमने. And on that note, sir, thank you so much.
यार तुम्हारा तेल आ रहा है, तुम्हारा ट्रेड चल रहा है. What else you require? Where is the diplomacy fail?
वही है ना सर, अब क्या करें, वो डिप्लोमेसी की स्टैंडर्ड्स बड़ी हाई
है. Our chief has not been called to somewhere and come and sit and you sell your country. And let's look at this way.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for the time and of course the knowledge. आपसे बात करके हमेशा बहुत अच्छा लगता है. It's always a pleasure and a learning experience. And we shall catch up with you next time, sir. But then, till then, namaskar, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Thank you. Thanks, Aadi.
Bye-bye, sir.
Bye-bye.